What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D, sitting in on Tennessee Brando's channel. If you like my content, please go over to my page at Coach D_speaks and give me a subscribe. So, over the past several years, Republicans and Donald Trump have been feeding MAGA's lies in regards to all types of stories, especially January 6th. One of the biggest lies was that FBI agents were there undercover as agitators and coerced MAGAs into going into the Capitol. Some of the lies are that the entire crowd was FBI agents. So once Trump became president and Kash was confirmed, MAGAs were uber excited because they were finally going to find out what happened on January 6th. So they've been waiting impatiently, and Bongino, the crazy right-wing podcaster who is second in command at the FBI, has been feeding them nuggets on Twitter to satiate them in order to stall because, of course, they have nothing. You see, these guys created MAGAs, and now they have to tame them before they go way crazy if you don't think they already have. So recently, they sat down for an interview with Maria Bartoloma, and she asked them straight up, were people in the FBI present as agitators during January 6th? Here's what they had to say.
Were there FBI agents undercover egging people on?
The short answer is no. They know it, we know it, but watch them try to bullshit their way through this.
Like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
You're about to, I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it, and I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer, but you and the public are going to have it. You're going to see it in writing over to Capitol Hill, but I just want to be sure we're clear, having been an agent and a police officer. There is a difference between an agent, I know you know this, I don't mean to sound ridiculous, an agent, meaning a trained GS 1811 federal agent, and a source or an asset. There's a difference. So when you see the material, which I promise you is coming, again, I'm not asking you to trust us. I know it's coming because I saw it yesterday. When you see it, I just want you to understand that it's not an apology for anything.
Thank you.
But there's a difference between agents and assets. Yeah. And I just hope when people put that information out there, they make the distinction. Not that it's better or worse, but there's a distinction there.
It's a very important distinction.
And I want to level set here. I want the American public to go back and look at what our predecessors stated to Congress under oath, that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th.
So Bongino, who, let me tell you a little bit about him real quick. This guy, before Donald Trump and crazy Kash Patel made him second in command at the FBI, was a far-right podcaster. He sat on his podcast all day, every day, and talked about the deep state and the swamp and how Democrats are demons and how if he ever got in charge, all he was going to do was go after Democrats. So this guy is now, for the most part, in charge, and all he's trying to do is go after Democrats. But what he's starting to find out now that he's in that chair is that the craziness that they created by lying to these MAGAs so much now needs to be satiated. So Bongino sits here and tries to sensationalize what we already know. The FBI already gave us a report on what was going on with them and January 6th. There were no undercover agents at January 6th. Bongino knows this. Kash Patel knows this. There were 26 FBI informants at January 6th. 23 of them were there because they were crazy MAGAs. They were just informants at some point. They may not even been current informants, but they were informants at some point for the FBI. 23 of them were there on their own. 3 of them were there to monitor people that they were monitoring for the FBI. They were basically snitches. That is it. 1 of them went into the Capitol. All of them were told not to do anything violent, not to agitate, not to go into the Capitol. We already know this stuff. What Bongino and Kash are saying, like, you just wait, You guys are going to find out. You're going to know soon. We already know. You're not going to hear anything different. What they're going to try and do is make it seem like these informants were more than what they were. They were people who were snitching for the FBI. And that is why Dan Bongino is saying, I want you guys to realize there's a difference between an FBI agent, a trained FBI agent, and an asset. Because he knows that they're going to try and say that they were actually FBI agents. And Dan Bongino, now being third in command at the FBI, has to at least have some sort of decorum and honesty, or else they really look even worse. So we're not going to learn anything new. There is nothing new. We already know all of these things. And these are the guys. They are trying to make it seem like they're doing more than they're actually doing. Every single time they do their job, they have a press conference to tell us that they did their job. But Dan Bongino has been feeding them nuggets all the time since he's been in that position. And he's been basically telling them, oh, there's going to be more. You guys wait. We're investigating. We're doing this. We're doing that. They're doing nothing different than the FBI has been doing since the beginning of the FBI. The only difference is now is that they're trying to paint themselves as these good guys who are finding all these problems with the Democrats. Those things do not exist. They are lying. They're going to tell us that there were 26 informants there and 23 of them were not even there under the direction of the FBI. 3 of them were, 1 of them went into the Capitol. And I guarantee you, they're going to make it seem like this person, this one person who went in there being told not to, did it under the instructions of the FBI. Under the Joe Biden FBI is what they're going to say. That is not true. That is not happening. There is nothing new. But they know that the MAGAs are thirsty. They're hungry for information. So they got to paint this as something when we all know it is absolutely nothing. Period.